Hey guys, so this video will be about predicting the F1 winner in the next USA Grand Prix using AI and machine learning. So if you have followed my previous videos, you have seen that I talked a lot about AI research and development and a lot of theory, but I thought, okay, I talked about that, but now let's get into a practical project and let's apply basically what I discussed. And I started thinking what could be some interesting projects that I could talk about, and I thought, okay, maybe sports betting could be interesting, and then I started looking at the type of events that would be organized in the upcoming days, and then I saw Formula 1 USA Grand Prix, so I was like, okay, let's just predict the next F1 winner. So this video will be like a beginner-friendly video where we'll see all the steps that we need to go through for an AI and machine learning project. And know that everything that you will see concerning the code, it will be available via the link in the description. So let's get into it. First, you need to know that the main objective of this project will be about predicting who will be the winner on the 19th of October, so the main race of the USA Grand Prix, but we'll also try to predict the second place and the third place. And to make things spicy, I decided to place virtual bets on websites like Bet365 or Polymarket. So if we go on this website, so bet365.com, we can see that here for the USA Grand Prix, the favorites are clearly Lando Norris and Max Verstappen. But I'm actually quite excited to see which winner, the AI model will predict, and then to compare it with what actually will happen. And if we go to Polymarket, we can see that we have the same category, so United States Grand Prix winner, and almost the same thing. So here you have the favorites, which is Verstappen, and then you have Norris and Piastri that are close. And as I've told you, it will be like a beginner-friendly video, so I will not dive into too much technicalities about the project, but know that we'll go through all the steps that are usually required in order to complete like a machine learning project. So obviously we start with getting the data, then we'll explore it, see what kind of insights can we get, and going through a step called feature engineering, which means selecting the right inputs that we will feed into the AI model so that it will make accurate predictions. And then obviously we will go through like creating the training data set, choosing the right AI models, training them, and then finally placing our bets. Before making this video, I didn't know anything about F1 or its rules or how this sport works. So I decided to consume some content on YouTube and so on. And there are many videos that are beginner friendly. For example, this one, from the official Formula 1 YouTube channel. It explains things very simply, and it is very beginner friendly, and it explains how F1 works basically. You also have this YouTuber, Marcus Brownlee, who also explains how the sport works, the rules, and so on, which is super nice. Now let's do a quick reminder of the F1 rules. First, know that you have 10 teams, which means like 10 companies like Red Bull, Mercedes, Aston Martin, and so on that are competing. And for each of those teams, you have 2 drivers, which means that in total you have 20 drivers in every single race. And every single season you have around 24 races that are spread across the Americas, Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. And then for each race, drivers score the points on finishing positions. So obviously the first will score, I think if I remember, it's 25 points, and then a little bit less for the second position, and so on. And obviously, right before the main race, you have something called the qualifying race. And this race will decide who starts where in the main race. And then by the end of the season, the world champion will be the driver with the highest total points. So in a nutshell, this is how F1 works. So the very first step of any machine learning project is about getting the data. And this data needs to be accurate, complete, and so on. And for this, I found a Python library called FastF1, which is this one here. And it's pretty nice, you know, it is easy to install, easy to get access to the data, and so on. Also, the type of data is very rich. You have plenty of data types and so on. I will tell you more about that. But know that in order to get it, you just need to write pip install fastf1 on your command line. If you have Python already installed, it will be very straightforward to install. Also know that the data available in this library is from 2018 onwards. So every single machine learning project that will be built on top of this library, the AI models can be trained only from data available starting from 2018 basically. And you have all sorts of data concerning the practice races, the sprints, the qualifying races, and the main races, obviously. So as I told you, the type of data is very rich. So obviously you have lapse time for each driver, you have the driver's position each lap, and then you have plenty of data for the car telemetry. So here is the website of the documentation of this library. And if I go to the telemetry chapter, you can see that here in car data, we have the speed, the RPM, the car gear number, the throttle, whether the brakes are applied or not, and something that we call the DRS indicator. So already it's a lot of information. We also have access to weather data. So let me go through the specific data types that we have access to. So yeah, as you can see, we have the air temperature, we have data about the rainfall, the track temperature, which is, I think, important. We also have information about the wind direction and the wind speed. And I think those two data types here are pretty important because I've seen some interviews from F1 drivers and they described, when they want to bypass someone that is right in front of them, when they're super close, they start feeling a lot of vibrations, like a lot of turbulences. And maybe, from an intuitive point of view, I'm thinking maybe, the wind speed and the wind direction might have an impact, if it is strong enough on whether a driver can, bypass another one. So I thought maybe this type of data could be important to integrate to make the AI models more accurate for their prediction power. Another type of interesting data that we have is something about the tire strategy. So you need to know that in F1, the drivers and the constructors, they can use multiple types of tires. Actually, it's the compound that they use, and it's about the grip. You have soft tires, you have medium tires, and so on. So we have access to all the tire strategy that have been used on all seasons. So I prepared some code that I will make available via the link in the description. And this code, is about a visualization of some of the data type that is accessible. And the first one is about displaying the gear shift. So I wrote this function, show gear shift viz, and if you run it, it might take some time for you, because it will need to download the data, but for me the data is already available, so it's pretty quick. But we can see here that the result is pretty interesting. Let me open it using a bigger picture. So as you can see here, we are displaying the fastest lap gear shift for Max Verstappen during the Austrian Grand Prix in 2021. So as you can see here, we have the gear number, and obviously, in the straight lines, in the pretty straight lines, we have the maximum gear number. But in curves like this, obviously, we have gear number 2. And displaying this type of data actually builds confidence into the fact that we can actually trust this data to build accurate models. So yeah, it always feels good, you know, to make sure that the data that we have in hand is accurate and will make sense for our AI models. The second function that I prepared for you is called show position changes, and let me display it. Here's the figure. As you can see here on this axis, we have so the position numbers for every single driver from 1 up to 20. And then here we have the number of laps, because every single race you have multiple laps. And obviously you can see that, for example, here, the first position here, I mean, he managed to keep his first position, but then I think in lap number 28, he became number 3. But then he managed to come back to number 1st at the 29th lap, I guess. So yeah, it's always interesting to display this type of visualization. And we can see that from lap 20 up to lap number 30, many things are happening, like a lot of drivers are changing their positions, and this might be related to the fact that maybe it's the time when they are changing their tires, you know. The third function that I prepared for you guys is called show speed, and as you can see, it shows so the speed from, I guess, 80 kilometers per hour up to 330 kilometers per hour. And again, it makes sense, you know, that when there are straight lines, we have maximum speed, but then in corners, obviously, we have lower speeds. The last function that I decided to prepare for you guys is called show corners. And this one is super simple. So for a specific circuit, it will just annotate all the corners, you know, and maybe the number of corners in a circuit may be like valuable information, because maybe there are some drivers that perform very well when we have many corners, but other drivers don't perform that well, you know. So maybe it's quite powerful, you know, to predict whether, I mean, at least to help predict whether a driver will more likely win a race or not. So yeah guys, that was pretty much it about this video. So basically in the next video I will be choosing the right data points that I think will be helpful for training our AI model, and then building the training dataset, obviously choosing the right machine learning models, and of course training them and then displaying our final predictions. So yeah guys, that was it. I hope you enjoyed the video. So this is the first part of, I guess, 2 series or 3 series video, but I will make sure to upload everything before the end of the race, so we'll be able to place our bets. Cheers guys.